Not a rumor, not internet paranoia, not a handful of unlucky owners. Over 1 million vehicles now sit at the center of active federal engine investigations, and the number keeps climbing every month. 4 separate automakers, 4 separate engines. The same failure every time, a crankshaft or connecting rod that never should have left the factory. Thinner oil, tighter tolerances. Engines pushed past what the metal underneath them can survive. Somewhere out there, someone paid more for their truck than most people pay for a house. And the engine died before the loan did. Every automaker on this list swore its fix worked. Every automaker on this list was wronged. The worst case on this list has already caught fire 42 times with people still inside, driving. Let's get into it. Number 4. Honda's 3.5-liter V6. Honda built its reputation on engines that outlast the car around them. This one didn't. In November 2023, Honda recalled almost 250,000 pilots, Odysseys, Ridgelines, Acura MDXS, and Acura TLXS over a crankshaft that wasn't ground to spec, leaving a crowned, uneven surface exactly where the connecting rod bearing rides. Wear turns into friction. Friction turns into metal shavings. Metal shavings move through the engine at thousands of RPM, grinding into every surface they touch. Honda's fix in 2023 was a full short block replacement. New crankshaft, new bearings, done. It should have ended there. By August 2025, NHTSA opened a second, deeper investigation this time, covering 1.4 million more Hondas and Acuras, after 414 owners reported the same bearing failure in vehicles that fell outside the original recall entirely. Honda's own internal records show nearly 2,600 reports of the issue. The vehicles under the new investigation span model years 2016 through 2020 pilots, MDXS, Odysseys, Ridgelines, and TLXS that were never touched by the original recall because Honda didn't believe they had the defect. NHTSA's own filing says it plainly. This failure pattern doesn't match the crankshaft defect Honda already fixed. It's something else in engines Honda already called safe. Why it's failing. The 2023 fix addressed one specific crankshaft defect. The new complaints are coming from engines that were never supposed to have it, meaning Honda still doesn't fully understand its own failure mode, 3 years and 1 recall later. A family hauling kids in a $45,000 Odyssey shouldn't be gambling on a part tolerance measured in microns. Some owners caught it early, a ticking noise at idle, a dashboard warning that came and went. Others didn't get a warning at all before the engine simply stopped. If you're tracking which engines to avoid before you sign a loan, you're exactly who this channel is for hit subscribe so the next breakdown finds you before the dealership does. And the next engine on this list has failed its own fix 3 separate times. Number 3. Hyundai and Kia's Theta engine family. This one isn't new, it's just never actually been fixed. In 2017, Hyundai and Kia recalled 1.5 million Sonatas, Santa Fe's, Optimas, Sorrentos, and Sportages after machining debris was found clogging the oil passages in their 2.0 and 2.4-liter engines debris that can seize a crankshaft mid-drive with 0 warning. It traces back to a 2011 change at Hyundai's Montgomery, Alabama plant and how the crankshaft's machining debris got cleared before assembly. A 4-year, $147 million engine program undone by a process change nobody flagged in time. Since 2015, the two brands have issued 33 separate engine and fire-related recalls, covering more than 5 million vehicles combined. The replacement engines Hyundai handed out under warranty, some of them failed exactly the same way. That's not contamination. That's a design that can't tolerate contamination. NHTSA didn't let this slide quietly either. Hyundai and Kia were hit with a combined $210 million in civil penalties after regulators determined both automakers sat on recall-worthy data for years before acting. Why it's failing? The oil galleries themselves run too tight to survive. Even minor debris and swapping in a new engine doesn't change the geometry that caused the problem in the first place. You can replace the part, you can't replace the design. Owners are now sitting on more than $5 billion in combined settlements and civil penalties for a fuel-sipping sedan engine that turned into a fire liability. Some of those Sonatas and Sorrentos were bought specifically because they were cheap to insure and cheap to maintain. That math stopped working the moment the crankshaft seized on the highway. And that's still only the halfway point. 2 down, 2 to go. Here's what those two have in common. Both brands issued a fix, both fixes failed, and both are now back under federal review explaining themselves for a second time. The back half gets worse: bigger brands, bigger price tags, and one engine that already passed a federal fix once and is now failing all over again. If a Honda minivan and a Hyundai sedan sound bad, wait until you see what's happening under the hood of a six-figure truck. Number 2. Toyota's 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6. Toyota recalled this engine in 2024, then again in 2025, then again in 2026. The first campaign hit 102,000 Tundras and Lexus LXS in May 2024, after machining debris was found sitting on the number 1 main bearing a different engine than Honda's, the same underlying problem. This is Toyota's flagship twin-turbo, the engine meant to replace the V8 in the brand's biggest, most expensive trucks and SUVs. It powers Tundras that start north of $40,000 and Lexus LX models that push past 6 figures. Toyota promised full engine replacements. As of this year, only 77,000 of those original 102,000 trucks have actually gotten one. In November 2025, another 127,000 vehicles joined the list: more Tundras, more LXS, and for the first time, the Lexus GX. By May 2026, Toyota added 44,000 more 2024 Tundras built, the company admitted, using the exact additional controls that were supposed to stop this from ever happening again. Nearly 270,000 vehicles deep, and the fix still isn't holding. Owners aren't just waiting for parts. Some are waiting for a full engine rebuild that dealers quote at 10 weeks, and that's before the wait actually starts. One 2022, Tundra failed completely at just 10,500 miles. Another owner's Lexus LX sat without an engine for over 150 days. Why it's failing? Toyota can slow the debris down. It hasn't figured out how to stop it. 3 recalls in, the company still hasn't named a root cause it's fully confident in. A $100,000 Lexus LX sitting in a service bay for months isn't a reliability bargain. It's a warning label with a badge on it. Toyota built its entire brand identity on the idea that its engines just don't fail. This is the engine proving that identity isn't guaranteed, it has to be earned every single generation. You've made it through 3 engines that were supposed to be bulletproof. Subscribe now, because the last one on this list is the biggest recall of them all, and it's still getting worse by the month. Number 1. GM's 6.2-liter L87 V8. This is the one with fire in the federal report. In April 2025, GM recalled roughly 721,000 Silverados, Sierras, Tahoes, Suburbans, Yukons, and Escalades over connecting rods and crankshafts machined to the wrong dimensions. The L87 is GM's flagship gas V8 the engine buyers pay thousands extra to get. In the trucks and SUVs GM sells the most of. This isn't a niche performance option. It's the volume engine in some of the best-selling vehicles in America. GM had already logged 28,102 complaints before that recall ever went public. 14,332 of them involving a complete loss of propulsion on the road without warning. 12 crashes, 12 injuries, 42 fires, some contained to the engine bay, some not. GM's fix: drain the 0W20 oil, refill with 0W40, inspect for a fault code, replace what fails. The complaints kept coming anyway. In January 2026, NHTSA reopened the investigation. Nearly 600,000 trucks, every one of them already carrying the fix after 36 new complaints of engines failing again. After the repair, after the thicker oil, after GM told the public it was over. And GM isn't done expanding either. Regulators are now reviewing another 286,000 trucks built from 2019 through 2021, outside the original recall window entirely, after owners reported the exact same catastrophic failure. 11 lawsuits over this engine have already been consolidated into a single federal class action in Michigan. Why it's failing? A supplier defect GM caught too late, patched with an oil change instead of a redesign, and is now explaining itself to federal regulators for the second time in under a year. Over 700,000 trucks, some worth 6 figures, some with kids buckled into the back seat when the engine let go. Every engine on this list passed inspection before it ever left the factory. That's the disaster. Drive safe.